Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the night. It is the night of the big reveal for the Seance at the Whitney. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching the replays. Tonight is a silly night. We will have a reading from Andrew Smith, who is our featured author tonight. And the rest of the night, I make no promises. If you have little ears, you might want to sequester them elsewhere and watch the replay before you allow little ears to listen, because I make no promises tonight. I also make no promises about time. So if we go longer than an hour, I'm sorry, but it just means we get to play and have more fun. So if you need to jump out early, we understand. You can watch the replay tomorrow. So here we go. This is the night of the big reveal. You never know what's going to happen tonight. It's going to be fun. It's going to be goofy. As you can tell, this is the night of the hat extravaganza, and we'll be getting into that in just a moment. The Seance at the Whitney has been a month-long interactive indie author virtual book festival featuring some of the most astounding authors on planet Earth. Maybe next year we'll get somebody from Mars. I don't know. We do author readings every night, and we've been playing this awesome interactive murder mystery game, which we'll be revealing what happened tonight, and we give away books every night. So welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that you guys have all stuck with me throughout the month. You've certainly made my February much more enjoyable. Tonight, our featured author is Andrew Allen Smith, and he's going to be reading from his recent poetry collection, Another Slice of Passion. Andrew, when you are ready, sir, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Yay. Can you hear me fine?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
Very good. The book is Another Slice of Passion. I took a little bit different approach with this book. And not only does it have a significant amount of poetry in it, but at the back it has a nice little opening that tells you a little bit about what led to the poetry. I'm going to read two poems, so we have plenty of time, but I'm also going to read the explanation for each one, so it gives you a little bit of idea what's behind it. The first poem, If I Keep a Dry Eye, It'll Be Rough. So, just a dog. I'd like to thank you one and all, skeptics you may be. You told me she was just a dog, but she was more to me. I'd like to thank you for your time and all the words you said, the things that didn't matter to you on the path that I have led. I'd like to thank you for your wit and all the jokes you made. You said a lot of things about love and how my feelings would soon fade. I'd like to thank you for your words and told me I was wrong. You told me she was just a dog, and I knew she would die all along. You see the world through crooked lens and know you can't see me. For that animal that was just a dog was more than you could see. Love may come and love may go, and you'll never understand. The animal that was just a dog was more than just a friend. She was there with me in the morning. She was there with me at night. She'll be there waiting now when I cross into that light. And if you still don't understand how deeply I feel now, you really need to take my hand and let me guide your brow. No man can love more deeply without expectation, need, or cause. You may think she's just a dog. I know she was love on four paws. And just a quick, at the back of the book, there are explanations on many of the poems. In 2022, I lost my 8th German Shepherd. Each time I've had a German Shepherd, they have grown with me and helped me grow. I found that there's a lot of truth in the statement that unconditional love belongs to a dog. So many people made statements about how I would get over things or how I should feel, but none of them really understood how I did feel or how deep my feelings were. Being a dog owner can be tiring and trying, and even more. Being a herding breed dog owner can be devastating because often these dogs are incredibly smart and incredibly challenging, as well as loving and caring, and they find a way into your heart. Yes, she was just a dog, but she meant a lot more to me. And for my second poem, which sold a lot of books at a recent area, the poem is named Oblivious. We took a drink, but we used a paper straw. We looked at the sky, we checked our phone, but we used a paper straw. We watched a shattered television, we took a drink, we laughed at the world, but we used a paper straw. We saw the dirt-strewn streets, we saw pain of others, we encouraged our own oblivion. We didn't stop to help, but we used a paper straw. We had another drink, we ate fast food, we watched our parks become wastelands. We drove for no reason. We watched apathy with indifference, but we used a paper straw. We saw another war. We saw people do others without consequence. We watched the pain and hunger. We blamed everything but ourselves. We took another drink. We argued for the sake of argument, but we used a paper straw. I found a path that's different. It calls to me each day. I found a path that holds my heart and shows me all the way. I want to help and try hard as I find that cherished path. I don't blame other people or any item they may have. And when I inhale the last time and exhale that last breath, perhaps another will find a way and show us while I rest. I know my life is tiny compared to all we call, but I think much more matters than a paper straw. And moving to the back here. As part of a writing group, a picture was presented of a bar, and I paid very attention to the details. The idea was to create an ambiance that would give you an opportunity to write something. As I reviewed the picture, I saw the bartender oblivious to life, paying attention to his phone and nothing else, and the well-worn bar with handwritten and typed signs almost holding up the walls. In the middle of it all was a cup with a paper straw, and for some reason that set me off. In a week filled with war and another shooting, as people blamed inanimate objects and cold for near genocide from other area, I found myself wondering why we always focus on the wrong thing. Perhaps a paper straw is a good thing because there's far too much plastic, but when everything that we buy is covered in 10 times more and we walk around with our plastic bottles filled with water, I find it hard to believe that we focus so much on a paper straw that it would make a difference, or that we thought it would make a difference. I was reminded as I wrote of this, the Michael Jackson song, and wondered when people were going to look into the mirror instead of blaming everything else but what was real. The book, Another Slice of Passion. Quick, easy.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. What a way to round out a month of extraordinary readings. Thank you so much. Made me cry, Andrew. Thanks. Appreciate that.
I made me, so hey, it happened.
Wow. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that book. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate all of you who have read all month long. I have discovered new books that I didn't know existed, and I've rediscovered authors that I had maybe forgotten about your wonderment. So thank you for reminding me, and thank you for showing me how extraordinary you all are once again. All right, we are gonna move on. All right, this is when the silliness happens, people. This is it. Well, okay, this
like it didn't happen before. Now
the silliness beginning for tonight. Whenever you guys logged in and you registered to come in, one of the questions I asked was, how did you find out about us? These are some of the ridiculous answers I got. Whispers in the night. I read tea leaves. A squirrel told me. Gary Floyd told me about transmitting his inner Nora Ainsworth. My husband said I had to, and I had to be nice. Whispers in Gregorian chants. I read the marshmallows in my hot chocolate. It said to come. My Google Calendar is filled with the festival. I read about it under my Dr. Pepper bottle cap. Heard it through the grapevine. The boogans whispered around it. I don't know what boogans are, and I'm not sure I want to.
An 80s horror film.
Okay, see, I knew that came from you because that was vocabulary I didn't have. Eddie Murphy emailed it and reminded me. Howard the Duck. Ghosts. Indiana Jones sent a telegram. I was summoned by Nora Ainsworth, and last but not least, evidently, Charlie told Cuckoo to tell Christopher to be here. I didn't know Charlie and Cuckoo were chatting, but evidently they have been.
I
All
was going
right.
to send you a message and ask you if you ever read any of the ones that I put on the bottom of my form until I saw 75% of them just showed up.
Yep. All right. I forgot something. Hold on, you guys. See, this is what happens when you don't have a property master running your show and you got to be property master and stage manager and MC. You have to get up and move and do things.
Too bad you don't have Donna Newman to help you out.
No kidding.
I will only help the great Christopher.
All right.
Not are we here?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to start giving away some prizes because, you know, it's that time of the night. So the first set of awards that we're giving out tonight are for the top 5 authors who collected wax drippings this month. As you remember, wax drippings are, you get points every time somebody names you on their registration form. Congratulations, Amy Calso, you took first place with 236. Christopher Gare, second place with 232. Andrew Allen Smith, third place with 216. Jules Nelson, 205 in fourth place. And Deborah Reed rounds out the top 5 with 197. You guys are awesome. For those of you who want to know what the rest of the tallies were, these are them. That's the final numbers. If you'd like to share this and, you know, scream bragging rights, definitely do that.
We could have had him, Donna and Mark.
For the top 5, you get, as promised, let's see if I can do this, snazzy medals. Just like we had, similar to what we had last year. There are snazzy medals. They're a little bit different this year. And on the ribbon, it says 2024. So make sure, top 5 authors, that you send me your mailing addresses so that I can ship these medals out to you. Or if you would prefer, and of course I would prefer, that you make arrangements to meet up with me in person and I will hand deliver it and put it around your neck, because that's always fun for me. All right, moving on. Just in case you guys are curious, and if anybody wants me to email this to them, I will. Some of you were asking, how did I get these points? When did they come in? How did all of that happen? Well, here's how it all happened. I don't even want to begin to tell you how many times my bookkeeper had to teach me how to build this spreadsheet. But, and I must tell you that finally what she did is she said, Diana, just let me do it and I'll send it to you. You fill in the numbers and it'll be done. So there it is for anybody who's interested about the trends and about your totals and all that silliness. That's what happened there. All right. If you want a copy of that, I'll be happy to email it to you, as I say. If you don't want a copy of it, that's fine too. I just thought I'd throw it out there. All right, here we go. We're gonna do something super fun. It's accusation sharing time, folks. As you know, we have been trying to solve a mystery all month long, and actually, we've been tripped up a little bit by the first mystery that happened 5 years ago, the disappearance and or death of Nora Ainsworth. But more importantly, we've been focusing our detective skills on who killed Richard Whitney. What was the primary motive and why? Now, last night, we heard a preview of what these little accusations are like. We heard Amy and Mary Ann's accusations, and they were both very fun. We also heard a couple of others. Tonight, I'm going to have some of the authors read their accusations aloud for you because I would prefer this wasn't the Diana Catherine show. So, to begin reading the accusations this evening, we're going to start with Jules Nelson. Do you have your accusation handy, Jules?
I do.
Okay, you are on. Go. Everybody listen very carefully. This stuff is going to be important later in the evening, so listen.
All right, to start at the very beginning, I saw Marianne take her ring off as soon as the great Christopher came into her sights, but she forgot to slide it into her pocket because she was so flustered. When Marianne threw the crystal ball at Richard, she forgot the ring was still in her hand and the ring went flying with it. And that's how it was across the room. There's no jewelry stealing ghosts needed. But she didn't mean to aim for Richard. No, ma'am. She was aiming for Gary, who was embodying her baby sister, Nora. If her sister's ghost was really there to face her killer, then she couldn't chance letting her sweet sister inform the great Christopher that Marianne had once been having an affair with Troy, Nora's fiance, and that Marianne had to quiet Nora from telling everyone, including if she told Marianne's husband about the affair, even though Nora had likely already told Richard about it. After all, Nora was arranged to marry the gorgeous Troy, where Marianne had been forced to marry a clown. But I digress. When Nora announced her presence to everyone, Marianne grabbed for the nearest thing on the table, which was her sister's favorite prop, the crystal ball, right as the lights went out. In the darkness, she missed her target, her sweet baby sister, and she struck Richard right in the carotid artery, knocking him over backwards. When she realized what she did, her surprise and horror was real. After all, she killed the wrong person. But she didn't really kill Richard. She just knocked him out. Diana, our storyteller, she felt Richard's body fall over backwards and saw her opportunity at revenge. Moving closer to Richard's fallen body, Diana stepped on Marianne's wedding ring, mangling it to represent her even more messed up marriage. Picking up the crystal ball, Diana dealt the final blow that finished Richard off and silenced the curse that her family, the Bergsons, had placed on the Whitney family all those years ago. Her mission in life had always been to make sure that there are no more heirs to the Whitney bloodline, which didn't really seem like an issue after Diana saw Richard's wife. But Diana wasn't worried about Amy either, because after all, we know that Amy's only going to produce books, not heirs. But Diana had sat herself next to Richard to be in the best position to figure out how to finally carry out her revenge for her fallen Bergson family name. And fate had smiled on her when Marianne tried to finish Richard off for her. Diana might have gotten away with murder, but her downfall was she was always sidestepping those direct questions and would never give clear answers. Not to mention all the information she found at the library that always left her monologuing about how horrible the Whitney ancestors were and how mistreated the Bergson family was. All that attention purposefully drawn back to the Bergson family, and even that stolen heirloom that was placed on Richard's body, it led a clear path back to Diana.
So
I agree.
so what you're asserting then is that I did it, and the reason I did it
Was revenge or retribution for your fallen Bergson family's name. And was it Clyde, the first one that was killed up there in the ghost bar?
Okay. I'd love to see that family tree because I don't remember any of those people.
It's all coming together.
How convenient.
It's not convenient when you forget who your family. Well, sometimes it is.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jules, for slinging your accusation for us. It's misguided and wrong, but thanks anyway. Okay. We heard Amy's last night. I am really, really curious to hear Donna Newman. I would like to hear your accusation being slung. Please tell us, what do you think?
I have to unmute.
Yes, you have to unmute.
You want me to read my accusation, huh?
Please.
Okay. So, it was fear that ultimately drove Marianne to commit the unthinkable, not once, but twice. Fear of being left alone started her on the path that had kept her trapped in her own padded cell of unhappiness in a loveless marriage with no heirs, no connections, except the fascination with a man who she knew only tolerated her for her money, but also fear of the consequences that awaited her if the truth came out, the truth that only Richard knew, the truth of what happened on that fateful day 5 years earlier, the truth about what really happened to her sister Nora. As the eldest sibling, Marianne had always felt a sense of responsibility for Nora, sacrificing her own dreams for the well-being of her sister. With financial challenges, her family chose to send Nora to Detroit day school rather than pay the tuition for college for Marianne. The only thing Marianne could do was marry a marriage not based on love or passion, but on financial needs, a loveless marriage devoid of passion or companionship, and a husband who reveled in infidelity and cruelty. Marianne's existence had become a prison of unhappiness. Her only solace was found in watching over Nora. She lived vicariously through her. But when Nora came into her room to whisper her confession, a pregnancy of the unborn child that would bind Nora to Richard forever, the seed of jealousy took root in Marianne's heart, poisoning her with resentment and longing for the happiness that always seemed just out of reach. So on that fateful night, as Marianne witnessed the tragic events unfold at the well, she was torn between loyalty to her sister and the suffocating grips of her own fears and insecurities. Marianne had known that Nora planned to tell Richard and beg him to run away with her. Marianne had followed her sister to the Whitney mansion. She watched in horror as Richard and Nora's whispered conversation turned into this deadly confrontation. Richard was distraught about Nora's pregnancy. How could this be possible? Even though women giving birth way past the age of 40, and even in Nora's case, 50s, the chances were slim. And the chances of a normal pregnancy and a healthy baby were slimmer. Richard accused Nora of making it up, then called the unborn baby a freak. He begged Nora to end it and to go ahead with her marriage to Troy. Marianne watched as Richard pushed Nora down the well. She started to move to confront Richard, but heard a small rustle coming from the other side of the woods. Jules had also missed the entire confrontation, and she walked slowly over to the well and called down to Nora. Marianne didn't hear what was said, but saw Jules pull out a gun and shoot it down into the well. Marianne was devastated, thinking her poor Nora was a victim of not a heated affair, but killed by that trollop Jules. As soon as Jules ran back towards the road, Marianne creeped over to the well, peered over the edge, calling for her sister. Nora's voice echoed up from the darkness, begging Marianne for help. Marianne was desperate to help Nora, and her heart was breaking as she heard Nora's sobs from her pain and betrayal from Richard. She promised Nora she was going to figure out how to get her out, and that they didn't need Richard. She would help Nora raise the baby. But Nora continued to cry, saying she couldn't continue to live here, that she had to leave. Marianne begged her to stay, but Nora continued to beg for help so she could escape from her broken heart. And where Richard's desperation drove him to push Nora into the well, Marianne was driven by desperation and fear of being left alone. So in the moment of madness, Marianne rushed up to her car, pulled her husband's pistol out of the glove box, and with trembling hands, she silenced Nora's pleas for help, extinguishing the spark of light that once burned so brightly in her sister's eyes. But yet, even in death, Nora's voice echoed in the darkness, haunting Marianne with the weight of her betrayal. And when Richard returned to the well, consumed by guilt and grief, he was the witness to the ultimate betrayal. The woman he loved was killed by the one person who should have been protecting of her. Filled with remorse and regret, Richard carefully climbed down to the bottom of the well, retrieved his one true love, and secretly buried her next to the cabin that they played at as a child all those years before. A silent testament to the love they shared and the child that would never be. Marianne and Richard both lived with their grief and regret, both in loveless marriages, holding on to their secrets. Recently, Richard had started to feel his own mortality, and knowing that Jules was never going to provide him an heir, he thought about his flesh and blood buried in that secret place. He regretted how he acted and knew in time he would have embraced the child, a baby created out of love, a miracle for two people that had defeated the odds for years. But his future had been taken from him. So when Richard saw Marianne entering in his room, his anger got the best of him. He slipped behind her and quietly confronted her. He whispered, I know you killed her. At first, Marianne didn't think she heard Richard right, but once she saw Richard's expression, she knew what he said and meant. And when she saw Richard's sister, Marianne's world came crashing down on her. Richard's sister had an insatiable thirst for scandal and would be quick at unraveling the secrets of the past. Marianne knew her time was running out. It was fate that Marianne found herself sitting across from Richard. Her eyes fell on the crystal ball, and she quickly formed the plan. Knowing how the great Christopher worked, she knew that his assistant would turn off the lights. She waited patiently until she felt the assistant stand up and leave the room. She peeked out and waited for the lights to go off. She quickly grabbed the crystal ball, ran across the room, and with a final act of desperation, snuffed out Richard's life with a single shattering blow. Not realizing until minutes later that in that final act, she had lost her wedding ring, and the truth threatened to tear apart Marianne's life. Confronted with the knowledge that that ring could tie her to the murder, she came up with a quick plan to deny her crimes and accuse the people she felt were beneath her of thievery and murder. But deep down, Marianne stood amidst the wreckage of her own making, knowing she was never going to escape the shadows of her own betrayal.
And there we have it, the novella from Donna Newman. See, this is why I didn't put a character limit in that box, because I was hoping we were going to get short stories, and you guys did not disappoint. Thank
This
you.
is an opportunity for a book here. You know it is.
I know.
That was Kenzie's suggestion.
I know. I have a project in mind. I need to, yes. I have a project in mind.
It's
Okay.
like Paige's promotion clue.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it? All right. Jennifer Rains, you are next, ma'am. Please sling your accusation.
I'll be much shorter. Donna Newman killed Richard accidentally. The great Christopher was her target because he'd been exploiting her skills and underpaying her for years. She saw yet again the fawning Marianne and the money changing hands and was enraged. The great Christopher abused her more viciously than her parents. They only had a section to help her. Donna moved the crystal ball onto the table, hoping it would distract the great Christopher, and she would be the one to step forward and coax Nora to talk, thereby cementing her place in the pantheon of great mediums. Everyone else is capable of murder and had murderous thoughts that night, but Donna acted first.
Okay, so Donna did it out of anger. We're having so much fun. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having fun. Okay. Gary Floyd, please read your accusation, if you will.
I, Nora Ainsworth, in being of reasonably sound mind, shout, "J accuse," at Donna Newman. After having spent many months, spent this last month going deep undercover as a fantastic Columbo, checking out all our witnesses, some of which didn't even know I was there, clearing the innocent. Just one more thing, Marianne. Is Hoboken spelled with 2 O's? Ah, you don't say. In trying to recall if my older sister was always that annoying when I was alive. I tried to get to the bottom of this crime of my darling, and at one time destined to be future husband. At first, I thought it might be Jules Nelson, but in terms of witty repartee, is there really any question who Richard would have chosen? Richard once told me that Jules was like dating Bill Nye, the science guy. All she wanted to do was talk about stalled highs and lows. And frankly, I was a raging weather front. It was clearly a murder of an unstable mind, and I believe that Donna couldn't help but go to that dark place again. Christopher might have saved her life, but that didn't stop her from taking his. I believe the great Christopher thought that the tip jar was a little light that night. He ordered his hit woman to take it out on the first Whitney she could find. She might have started to the butler's pantry, but really what she was doing was trying to get a better angle to deliver the coup de grace. Coup de grace. Christopher and his maul Donna had been knocking off seances all over the country from Seattle to Hoboken, and frankly, Donna was a little tired of living cheek to jowl. She was hoping to use the money to purchase a first-class padded room in a better neighborhood. She had long figured that Christopher was a two-bit hack and moved to discredit him, knowing that a murder at the seance isn't exactly good publicity. She later figured she'd deal with Christopher after the seance, and she'd take the money inside the envelope. She'd use her own magic crystal ball to finish him, his very own crystal ball to finish him. That is, providing she could pry it out of Marianne's hand. She never anticipated the police sequestering everyone inside so quickly. Nor did she figure that the Mystery Machine van showing up and Shaggy, Velma, and Scooby-Doo rushing to the third floor of the... It was at that moment that Dawn realized that she might have gotten away with murder too if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
And there you have it. So Gary believes Donna Newman did it out of a sense of control. All right. Miranda Shivers, would you like to sling your accusation, ma'am?
This is so embarrassing because I did my accusation, but I submitted it and I didn't make a copy of it. So do you have it in front of you?
You know what? I do. Let's listen to another accusation and I'll get this over to you.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just playing with things now. All right. Christopher, you're up, sir.
I'm a little embarrassed. I mean, everyone else has been kind of going for the humorous approach to this, and I totally didn't add any of that into mine. So
Yeah, no, none.
Oh.
I don't believe you.
Nobody believes you, Christopher.
Okay, here is my heartfelt theory. Marianne has led a frustrating life. I'm betting it started when she was but a wee lass, and someone played with her toys without her permission, and then they hid and broke her toys along with her psychological health. She became driven to get things her way, no matter the cost. Poor service? Wrath of Marianne. No senior discount getting her McDonald's coffee? Wrath of Marianne. Wrong man marrying her sister, who then kills said sister? Wrath of Marianne. Seducing men to quell her thirst for revenge wasn't enough. Their lack of interest in her dirty pillows only fueled her rage even more. She would make things right, one body at a time. They would pay. Every Richard, every Harry. After puberty, every Harry Richard. The lights went out at the Whitney. Richard was staring at the Great One, probably bored, but staring. She picked the crystal ball up, finally gaining knowledge of what a ball actually felt like in her hand, and threw it, along with her ring, mistakenly, since she'd taken it off in one last desperate attempt to tempt the Great One into her Salome self-induced charm and not stunt his stunt double. It was a perfect plan. The Great One could only commune with the dead, though probably not the recent dead. He would know about Nora, and the family's secrets would come out. Jules would be framed, or a hack sister, or an incompetent nymphomaniac employee. Oh yes, Richard would pay dearly for all the men who barely escaped Marianne's lust for domination. Her dirty pillows would finally be fluffed. Unfortunately, her deception uncovered, she would realize she was nothing more than a cheap mother fluffer, and forever be remembered as the Dirty Pillow Black Widow.
I think he got it. I think he's got it.
I'm taking the great one's picture down off the wall.
My gosh. All right. Wow.
You okay?
I'm not sure.
Breathe. Breathe.
Okay. All right. This is good. This is inhale, exhale, inhale. Okay. Miranda, I sent it to you in a private chat.
Got it.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, take the microphone, Miranda.
Okay. Amy didn't want anyone to know that Nora and Richard were actually the storytellers of her books. She was actually a ghostwriter. Richard and Nora did all the hard work of creating and writing the stories, but Amy took the credit. The author name, Amy Kelso, was a pen name owned by the trio. But Richard and Nora wanted to remain anonymous. They had a silent partnership agreement to allow Amy to be the front person for the books. But fame went to Amy's head. She wanted all the glory. Richard suspected Amy killed Nora and threatened to turn her in. Then, after Amy spent the entire book advance, he demanded that she hand over all the earnings for the books, but it was too late. The money was gone. And when she told him, he threatened to expose her fraud.
All right. Amy did it. Amy did it. Okay. There's
Meanwhile,
so much
is this the rest of it? Oh, meanwhile, in the
Yep.
meantime, here we go, the rest of it. In the meantime, the Whitney estate was in financial trouble and Richard needed the money from the books to build up the estate. Amy saw a chance to become the hero in her own stories by getting rid of Richard and Nora. The life insurance would more than compensate the Whitney and put it in the black. Amy hoped to sell the estate and travel the world in style with her newfound riches. She planned to escape the murder charges by vacating to a tropical island where the law couldn't touch her. Now that she'd made a name for herself as a best-selling author, she knew that she could plagiarize the works of small-time self-published authors and never get caught. Her plan was perfect. No one would ever suspect a best-selling author of killing her own brother and his beloved mistress. She could easily get away with murder.
Hey, there you go. Amy, you're in big trouble.
That sounds like a good plan. I'm liking this.
Okay.
Taking
Andrew
notes.
Allen Smith, would you like to sling your accusation?
Okay, I'll sling, but I didn't write a book this time. Sorry.
That's all right. You're allowed.
Frustrated by a relationship that was not what it seemed, Jules planned out the murder for years. When it became possible to see an opportunity, she tried to make it match her almost diabolic plan. The seance was that perfect opportunity, and after giving a small amount of LSD to her soon-to-be deceased husband, she knew there would be even more of an opportunity. She had seen the seance before and understood that there would be light effects and darkness. As an added boon, she had the opportunity to conceal a small switch that triggered a relay and turned out the lights in the main room. No one would suspect, and she lined up everything on that day and then set the entire thing in motion. She knew there would be some suspicions, but she also knew that the psychotic ramblings of many of the attendees would obfuscate her true intentions. As the drugs began to take effect, Richard was obviously very agitated, and at the key time, she turned off the lights and reached for the crystal ball. Her previous life as a pitcher gave her the opportunity to throw the crystal ball with enough force to kill him, and even though she missed her mark, the impact was enough to finish the job. If anyone would have bothered to check, she had white cloth gloves in her hand that she discarded in a pocket as she clicked the lights back on. She was finally going to be free of the constant foolishness that this man had put upon her and would no longer be abused in private while reveled in public. Her escape would allow her to truly live and find someone who actually cared about her. What she didn't count on was the ghost of Nora. And if I was Gary, I'd be worried that I was next.
Well done. Well done.
I am.
Jules, you're in big trouble. I don't know if I want to be the end result of Andrew's wrath. Okay. Justine Manzano, would you like to sling your accusation, please?
Hi. The skull on the table is the skull of Nora Ainsworth. Marianne found it 2 years ago, along with the rest of the skeleton, while investigating the tunnels between the Ainsworth and Whitney estate residence. She knew it was due to the familiar wedding dress. It was her due to the familiar wedding dress she wore. From that moment on, she began planning the seance. But that wasn't where Marianne's manipulations began. In fact, Nora had always been a tool for Marianne, or should we say Maxine. Her little sister rebelled against her control, where Marianne wished to spend time with her sister, forming her into a little version of herself. Nora chose to spend time with Amy and Richard. From early on, Marianne used her friend Troy to spy on Nora when she played and report back to her. It was how she knew Jules used to follow them around, and it's why Amy found Troy so disturbing. Initially, Marianne's plans were to marry Troy herself. He was good at doing her bidding, and we know how much Marianne loves to be waited on. But as Troy followed Nora, he fell in love with her, and Marianne lost her chance at marrying into Troy's family and gaining his wealth and station. That didn't have to end necessarily. If she could get Troy to marry Nora instead, she'd be able to leech some of that social standing off her sister and her husband. But then Nora had to rebel again, and with Richard Whitney of all people. Marianne was incensed when Nora left for the manor on her wedding night, but not angry enough to lose her chance at social standing. She tried to parlay the grief she shared with Troy over the missing Nora into a love affair, but Troy was too in love with Nora to follow through. For the next few years, Marianne had been forced to give up. She'd married for who knows what reason and tried to get on with the pieces of her life that she still had left. But then she found the tunnel, and following it led to Nora's body. She knew it had to be Richard who had done this to her, and she set out to prove it. But she knew the only people who could have possibly known what happened that night were Jules, Amy, and Melinda, and they would definitely close ranks to protect their beloved Richard. If only she could ask Nora. But what if she could? Marianne began researching, and that was how she found and began meeting with Christopher. As a matter of fact, she had never truly been a fan. She just saw he got results. Even more so when he took on Donna. It didn't matter who spoke for Nora as long as one of them did. And she continued her research using what little social influence she had left to discover things about Christopher and Donna that both would rather none of us knew. She began to craft a plan. She contacted Troy to tell him all about the great Christopher and to plant the idea in his head. With a little name dropping and gentle persuasion, she'd even been able to make him feel like it was his idea. He could hold the seance, and Marianne would simply help sponsor it. Troy knew who needed to be there. Anyone who could have been there the night of Nora's disappearance, the medium and his assistant, and of course, a reporter, someone who would hear the truth and publish it for the world to discover. It was perfect. Richard would be held accountable for his many crimes, losing Marianne her chance of an even more privileged life, and of course, the death of her sister. To push the chances further in her favor, she even got Troy to put the skull on the table for ambiance, knowing that it was Nora's and that her chance of channeling her would be greater. She left that part out of her explanation to Troy. When Amy came in with that damn crystal ball they used to play with, it was even better. If the skull could help channel Nora, then the crystal ball could only be better. And if the great Christopher couldn't summon Nora, well, she would tell the world that he was a fraud. She could also frame Donna for attempting to steal from the Whitney. After all, Marianne was rifling around in Christopher's duffel bag, and she found the red spray paint. What else did she plant there? Marianne claimed she paid the suspiciously absent maid to sit her next to Christopher. However, they're not here to be questioned, and there is no proof of said transaction. In actuality, Marianne had purposely sat herself directly across from Richard so she could see his face when Nora fingered him for his murder. She also made sure Amy sat between her and Troy so nobody could catch wind of their work together. Though she initially wanted to get Nora's murderer to simply take accountability, upon seeing Richard's panicked reaction, she was filled with anger. And when the lights went out, well, Marianne has always been good at adapting. And Richard had always loved to play with that crystal ball. She picked it up and hurled it at him with her left hand, hitting him and causing blunt force trauma to his right carotid artery. Her ring flew off as she threw, leading Donna to stomp on it on the way back in and leave it bent. Marianne didn't immediately claim the ring when someone found it because she knew it fell off when she threw the ball, and she didn't want anyone connecting her to the murder. In short, it's Marianne's world, and we're just living in it.
Well done. Yay. Can I just interject an idea here? If I'm ever on trial for murder, I really don't want you guys on the jury because you make stuff up really well. Well done. Good job. All right. Wolf, will you please read your accusation, sir?
Okay. I missed the part about reading this out loud.
That's okay, because I just decided today that I was going to do it. So
okay. So this wasn't written, this was literally not written to be readable.
That's okay.
I will
Go.
do my best to get the effects right.
All right.
If this is realism, I believe that the well wall caved in at the weakest point closest to the tunnel and allowed Nora to escape and hide out in the Ainsworth estate. With Richard, Amy, and Melinda trying to kill her, she could not resurface and had to transform herself into somebody else. If this is paranormal, I'll accept that Nora reincarnated as Gary. Either way, it makes sense for her to become a man. She probably knew Troy's leanings, and this allows them to still marry. However, she effectively lost access to both the Whitney and the Ainsworth's fortune, even if Maxine knew the truth. Nora may have been content to leave a nerve-wracking sister in the dark, for the lady does protest too much, she thinks. When the necklace went missing again, Nori knew Richard stole it. Though Maxine, he finagled seats for himself and Troy, Nori showed up early and sweet-talked the Brazilian maid to let her wait in the ghost bar, then afterwards feigned ignorance how she got there. With has knowledge from childhood, she searched all of Richard's hiding places and found nothing to his horror. She then made a plan to kill Richard to prevent him from fencing the necklace. And Troy's ticket to a bright future. And of course, she could get revenge on Richard and possibly even frame Jules or Melinda. Nori talked Maxine into tripping the breakers in the butler pantry for effect and maybe to get closer to the Great One. In her haste to get back, Maxine dropped her ring. I don't buy that throwing a dull crystal ball can damage an artery protected by skin. But Nori was close and strong enough to smash Richard's head with it. Coming from the left and being right-handed, she naturally swung at Richard's right side. She just hit too low in the dark.
All right. Well done. Thank you very much, Wolf. We appreciate you being here all month long, helping us ask those really tough questions. So we appreciate that. Okay, Matt Joe, you are next on the hot seat. Go.
Okay, mine isn't nearly as long as everybody else's.
That's all right.
I didn't get that memo.
I didn't send the memo.
I could have, but so I think Amy did it. In the dimly lit halls of Whitney Manor, where secrets whispered and tension simmered, Richard and Amy's conflict reached its peak. Amy, relentless in her pursuit of exploiting their shared past, clashed with Richard's refusal to be manipulated any further. The promise of Hollywood riches only fueled their dispute, with Richard demanding a larger share or threatening to derail Amy's movie dreams. Retreating to the solace of the woods, Amy stewed in her anger and betrayal. The well, once a sanctuary, now mirrored her turbulent emotions. Richard's comfortable life with his wealthy wife, Julie, contrasted sharply with Amy's own financial struggles, intensifying her resentment. Back at the manor, amidst the anticipation of the ghost bars and seance, Amy's hunger mingled with her simmering rage. Disappointment washed over her as the lackluster appetizers failed to meet the Whitney standard. Sitting across from Richard, his presence a constant reminder of their discord, Amy seized an opportunity when the lights flickered out. With a surge of desperation, she hurled the crystal ball at him, hoping to inflict pain without fatal consequences. As chaos erupted and accusations flew, Amy saw a path forward by shifting blame and nursing Richard back to health, thinking she'd only injured him. She could regain control of her life. With Amazon Prime money in hand, she'd break free from the confines of the Whitney Manor and chart her own course, leaving her brother and his wife behind.
I mean, it does make sense.
I love being in a room full of writers so much. This is awesome. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Mark McCraw, you are on. Go, sir.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'm not as long, but I guess it's because I'm a children's book author, not a novelist, I guess. Marianne was enthralled with the great Christopher, and the great Christopher, she really adored him and all of that. And I believe that the reason that she killed Richard Whitney was because Richard Whitney was showing a lot of, getting upset, and that Nora was going to go after him. So I think that she was trying to, she was the one that was responsible for killing Richard because Richard was making such a scene. So it's not as long, but that's my accusation that Marianne is the one who did it.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. I love it that you guys are stepping out there and playing the game. Mackenzie Keatley is actually going to turn on her microphone and she's going to read for us. And we're so excited about this. Okay, Mackenzie, you're on. Take the microphone. Mackenzie, are you still out there?
Can you hear?
Try again, Mackenzie.
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you now.
Okay. So like I said, this wasn't exactly finished because I forgot to finish it, but
oh, your microphone's turned off again. Mackenzie, you have to turn your microphone back on. We can't hear you.
She's coughing.
Oh,
She's
okay.
coughing. She turned it off so she could cough.
Okay.
She's all choked up.
I was just so worried.
I'm sick and didn't want to cough in your ears.
That's all right. You're allowed. Go ahead.
So we've been calling Mr. Gare the Great One, but in reality, the Great One is truly Miss Wheeland. For at the beginning of the month, Miss Wheeland was described as the amazing, terrific, and over-the-top fan of Mr. Gare. And I have to say, she's done a pretty good job of staying true to that title, unlike Mr. Gare. Miss Whelan has been the most over-the-top Karen-like fan of Mr. Gare since the beginning, and her acting is incredible because there ain't no way she's that much of a fan of a guy who isn't even that great. He isn't even good-looking, and she's willing to pretend she's single for him. That's quite a terrific fan right there. Whereas Mr. Gare can't even do his job of talking to spirits. If the Great One is so great, who killed Richard? Conjure up his spirit and let's get some answers. But no, you haven't been able to because you ate too much Taco Bell. With that being said, Miss Kelso had Amazon talking to her about turning her books into a TV show when they really should have talked to Nora and Robert because it was their story. Maybe Miss Kelso got mad because they found out and they wanted a cut of any royalties. She says she sent them a cut of royalties from the books, but where's the proof? Miss Nelson potentially killed Nora because she was upset that she wasn't a first choice. Richard probably would have preferred to marry Miss Wheeland instead of Miss Nelson, but then realized how much of a Karen Miss Wheeland is, so after he threw his first choice into the well, he had to settle for the only other option. Now, for my actual accusation. I think Miss Storyteller did it because every time a question was asked regarding the victim's death, she didn't deny doing it, nor did she say she did it. She is also a plotter, so when it comes to her news stories, it would be nice if she could keep her sanity by having a story stay the way she plotted it. Sure, the mini details would change, but the major ones, like a murder, would stay according to plan, unless the plan went wrong, but based on her reactions and feelings towards the murder, I suspect it didn't go wrong.
Okay, Mackenzie, I love you, but I don't like you right now. Thank you, Mackenzie. Well done. Good job. I'm so glad that you've been with us all month long. You've been really super fun to have in the room, and we really, really appreciate you. Mary Beth, I don't know if you saw my note. Would you like to read your accusation? If you have it
Okay,
in.
I did not see your note. Where did you?
I put it in the chat. Do you have your
Well,
accusation?
it's so the chat is like a flood right now.
I know, I'm watching it. But if you would like to read yours, you may.
I would. And just an apology, I didn't know about the unending open-ended
Nobody
version.
knew. Nobody knew.
So mine's the flash fiction version.
Perfect.
Okay. The spirit of Bethany, grieved over Richard's and Jules' involvement in the death of Nora Ainsworth, and Richard's theft of the charity auction necklace possessed Gary Floyd. She caused him to kill Richard to restore the Whitney to the powerful, peaceful atmosphere she sacrificed herself to create. Although she couldn't protect Nora because the well was outside her influence, she will do anything to protect the Whitney, including killing those who threaten its existence with their evil. Look at Marianne, you haven't been particularly nice.
Marianne could be next. Tune in next year to see what happens in February. All right. Awesome. Okay. Mark Love, I don't know if we saw an accusation from you, but if you'd like to venture a guess at this point, I'd love to hear it.
I did not submit an official accusation because I was just caught up in so much of this going back and forth. It was very difficult. I had it down to my top 4 suspects at one point in time. It was Jules Nelson, because seriously, in a marriage that was that weak and lame and everything else, bumping him off made perfect sense. I mean, pick up the globe in the head, knock him down, knock him out, but take your chances of getting the money, and if nothing else, you're free. That made sense to me. Next was Marianne. I love you dearly. You're such a wild card in this whole extravaganza. But man, it was just like one taco short of a combination plate. You were everywhere. And then Amy, I know, you're going to be an Amazon Prime star, world-class author and all this stuff, but sharing those royalties definitely gives you motive. But I think truly my absolute number 1 suspect was Deborah Reed, who kills everybody all the time. And notice how often she was not here. She was in
Hiding in the shadows, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Working like the puppet master in the background. So I couldn't get anywhere beyond those 4. That was my hang up there. And occasionally I did look at the storyteller and go, methinks she does protest a little too much. But
Diana's not that smart.
yeah,
I'm
I'm not going there, but I'm just saying there was glimmers, but not enough. So.
All right, thanks, Mark. Deb McPeak. Oh no, Amy, go ahead.
Just real quick, in the chat, Mackenzie said, Miss Menge hasn't been here in a while either. Maybe Miss Reed killed Miss Menge.
That's a possibility. That's we'll have to ask Deborah the next time we see her.
Sure
Deb,
the truth.
Deb McPeak McFadden, would you like to share your theory?
It'll only take me a second. I think it's Jules, and she killed him because he deserved it.
I like how you put in your submission form, praying mantis syndrome.
Yeah, that's all they're good for. One shot and then you bite their heads off.
That's
Right.
six.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that means we have 1 suspect cast member left who has not yet shared her theory, and that's the Whitney mansion-headed Melinda Falgo. Do we get to look at your face at any point tonight? Or were you just going to have the mansion tell the story? There you are. Yay. Okay, are you ready? Can you turn on your microphone and read us your theory?
As ready as a house can be.
Yeah.
The butler, maitre d', did it. Or did she? You know what they say about the best laid plans. Well, Richard's killer may have done well to listen to Scottish poet Burns. But then again, can you really trust a man who eats haggis? But I digress. Our poor departed Richard, God rest his soul, was a foolish boy who grew into a foolish man. And I should know, having served the Whitney family for so many years, I knew it long before that fateful night when he appeared at the threshold, babbling on hysterically about accidentally disposing of poor Nora Ainsworth. On the night in question, I was performing staff evaluations. For the record, I've never evaluated a finer staff. Hard as they come, that staff. Hardworking, not afraid to get down on the old hands and knees. Well, I posit that it was in fact Nora Ainsworth who dealt Richard Whitney the fatal blow. And no, not the ephemeral spirit purported to inhabit Gary Floyd, the aloof guest. Rather, I am referring to a real, live, flesh and blood Nora Ainsworth. Or should I call her Donna Newman? Yes, but Miss Newman did not act of her own accord. No, indeed not. Who else, except a man possessed of clever wit and preternatural gifts, could concoct such a bizarre and convoluted chain of events that could not lead not only to the untimely death of Richard Whitney, but could also unearth details that would devastate each and every member of the Whitney family, unveiling Jules Nelson's part in Nora Ainsworth's death, revealing author Amy Kelso's plagiarism of Nora Ainsworth's colorful tales, and conjuring Nora Ainsworth herself, themselves, to point a spectral finger at me with 11th hour wild claims of a second shot as our so-called spirit guide. The great Christopher was perfectly positioned to cast doubt upon all in attendance with his mysterious envelopes and messages from the great beyond. A seance at the Whitney was a perfect opportunity to enact his dastardly plan. With all eyes on him, who would notice his diminutive assistant as she dimmed the lights long enough to afford her the opportunity to deal the deadly blow. First, you must understand, the great Christopher wasn't always so great. More of a circus sideshow than a force to be reckoned with, really. He ran in the same circles as Mary Ann's clown hubby. Often, he had to stoop to prostituting his services to whomever would pony up. He may have even lifted a few baubles from some of his more affluent patrons, like the Bergsons. I mean, look at the adornments on his turban. And at several of the Whitney functions, I myself heard Mary Ann Ainsworth Wieland wax on at great length about the private sessions she would hire him for at her family estate. But as his fame grew, Miss Wieland grew too, into one of the biggest thorns in the great one's side. I mean, we're talking swim fan stalkery. He tried using a stunt double, like in Hoboken, but that only seemed to increase Mary Ann's fervor. Christopher could no longer stand it. He was wandering the grounds between the properties on the night of the engagement party, I suspect, to tell Mary Ann just where to put her pesos. And when I think back to that night, I'm sure I saw him walking through the trees between the properties when I went to the well to look for Nora. However, when I got there, as I said, I saw no sign of Nora. In fact, other than circumstantial evidence, Nora's body was never found. I propose that it was because she was not there to be found, that Jules did not successfully quiet her, as many of us thought when we heard her unabashed confession. I believe Nora did not fall to the bottom of the well, but managed to grasp one of the thick, twisted tree roots pressing in from the nearby forest. Perhaps it was dear Bethany reaching out one last time. The great Christopher must have happened upon the well just moments after Richard ran screaming toward the Whitney. If you will all recall, as Donna, Nora, admitted several times during interrogations, "The great Christopher pulled me from a dark place." The depths of an abandoned well in the middle of the night is certainly a dark place. The great Christopher immediately recognized Donna Nora from his visits to the Ainsworth estates. Through sobs and tears, the great Christopher must have seen a kindred spirit. Donna Nora must have explained how awful her family was forcing her to marry, and then how Amy had stolen her ideas, and how Jules had stolen her man, and how her man then pushed her into the well. The great Christopher saw an opportunity to hatch a devious plan that would serve them both, exacting revenge upon the Whitneys, and finally getting Donna Nora's loathsome sister off both their backs. I believe the plan was first to get Donna Nora out of town to fuel the rumors that Nora was indeed dead. She hid out in Seattle. That much was true. She even spent some time in Eastern State Hospital to overcome the PTSD from her brush with death in the well and life with Marianne. Then an anonymous note was sent to Troy/Dawn to prompt the calling of the seance. Nothing would tie back to them. The great Christopher cut one of his old carny buddies, Gary, in on the action to play the part of the dear departed Nora. And Donna was supposed to conk Marianne in the head in the dark, and the Whitneys were supposed to be framed using Nora's old storytelling crystal ball, which contained Amy's prints. But in the dark, she slipped on Marianne's discarded ring, lost her footing, and the crystal ball sailed across the table, striking Richard in the back of the head, as opposed to the floor, which was originally purported by the autopsy report, and caused him to fall forward, where he slammed his own neck and carotid artery on the table edge, the actual cause of death.
I think she's got it.
Holy moly. You guys, wow. Okay. It's really super fun. Looking around the room, I know, go ahead, Amy.
I just wanted to point out another thing that Mackenzie said in the chat is I still think the mouse in the butler's pantry was a shapeshifter, and the mouse person killed Richard. And she added, I may or may not be the mouse person because murder.
Well, that's as viable a solution as any we've heard tonight, so I think it works
as much as anything.
Jen Rinaldi, I noticed you're the only one we haven't heard from tonight. Did you want to sling your accusation?
Yes, I did.
Go.
I'm going to be overtaken, so give me a second. The ghosts have come to me and told me that they're sick of all of you. All they want is peace here at the Whitney. They want this to go on as it's always going on. They don't care who got killed, why they got killed, what well they got thrown into. All they care about is continuity. So our whole feeling here as ghosts, and there are many of us here at the Whitney, we have touched you, we have cleaned up blood, we have made sure that you thought they were shapeshifters. We are able to do this as ghosts. Understand us. We can't materialize, but we can affect. And in this way, we affect you thusly. We think that the Whitneys have the best intentions in terms of keeping this house safe. They don't care about you. They don't care about any of the intrigue. All they care about is the house, and that's what we, the ghosts, care about. So that's where I'm going to leave it.
Well done. Okay, here we go. This has been just amazing, you guys. This is you guys are amazing storytellers. I love everything you create, and I am humbled to be in your presence. We're going to give away our first award tonight, and that is for, let me see if I can pull this up.
Heard your accusation.
Well, you just wait. Just all things in good time. If I gotta wait to open this package, you guys, you can wait to hear my accusation. Okay? I mean, just seriously. Okay. So on your screen, you will see a poll. I want you to take a look and tell me what you thought the most memorable writer was who created the most memorable ending. What do you think is the ending to remember? Go ahead and put your answers in the chat, everybody, or in the poll. Everybody put it in there, because I'm done making decisions, folks. You guys got to make this decision tonight. I'm not doing it anymore. So give it a few more minutes. What?
I think it was actually the Whitney, which we see, you know, under Melinda. It's the house itself that did it.
The house itself. That would be a nifty trick. Okay. Has everybody put their thingies in? 17 out of 17. Yes, 100% of you answered. And well, on the poll, 100% of you answered, and the results show Melinda Falgo won with 41%. Yay! Guess what, Melinda? Let me see if I can. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so Melinda, as is the creator of the most memorable ending, you get the most memorable ending prize for tonight. I'll send you a $25 gift card from Amazon, because, you know, we have to support Amy's writing career somehow. Amazon Prime doesn't happen by itself. So we're getting gift cards from Amazon. And so what you have to do is make sure that you send me your email address where you would prefer I send that gift card. Okie dokie. Smokey, got it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I really don't want to read this now, because you guys are just so good. And I can't live up to the amazingness of you people. But I'm going to try. I shared this with one person, and that person assures me that I'm not completely a hack job. So I'm going to read it, and you guys are going to see what you think. All right. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate you. All right, here we go. This is the official ending. Richard has spent the last 5 years suffering under the weight of the secret that he pushed Nora Ainsworth into the well. Except for Melinda, he never told anyone what happened that night, and he was never entirely sure Melinda believed him. He didn't know Jules was aware of his mistake. As their 5th anniversary was fast approaching, he couldn't bear to continue his sham of a marriage. 6 months ago, in the middle of a heated argument, he confessed to Jules that he never really loved her. He loved Nora, and Jules would always be second best. He told her that he wanted a divorce and hired a private detective to look for Nora. Their marriage wasn't very strong to begin with, and they've been arguing almost nonstop and sleeping in separate bedrooms at the manor ever since. A kleptomaniac since childhood, unbeknownst to anyone else, even her husband and sister-in-law Amy, Jules has become a master thief since Richard. She uses the legend of the Whitney family as a cover to deflect focus of the missing items. She hid behind ghost stories and the mystery surrounding the previous thefts at the manor to shield her from detection. After each heist, she temporarily stashed the loot in the butler's pantry and later used the tunnels to secret her prizes to the Ainsworth bomb shelter. She covered her tracks well, for no one thought to enter the tunnels from the Ainsworth property. If the missing items were ever discovered, the Ainsworth family would have been blamed, and no one would ever suspect Jules. 3 months ago, while walking through the library at the Whitney, drooling over the items on display for an auction to benefit Children's Hospital, Jules' eyes landed on the Berkson necklace. She long coveted the piece, a direct link to the age-old Berkson-Whitney feud. She took pictures of it from all angles and then hired a forger to have a replica of the necklace crafted. Very late the night before the auction, while Richard was distracted in a meeting with the board of directors, she lifted the real necklace and replaced it with the forgery. Quickly, she tucked the stolen necklace into a book that had a compartment hidden inside. Later, Jules moved the necklace to the Ainsworth bomb shelter with the rest of her stash. Tonight, as an insurance policy should something go wrong, she planted the Berkson necklace in Richard's dinner jacket. If he wasn't arrested for Nora's murder, he would at least go away for a very long time on grand larceny charges, and Jules would still get to take that trip to Paris. The large sum of money that the great Christopher was paid to host the seance came from some of the items stolen and then fenced by Jules. Jules sent letters anonymously to Troy and Marianne suggesting that Nora's killer would certainly incriminate themselves and be easily caught if they could get all the players together in one room. Jules suggested that Marianne and Troy contact Christopher Gare, a well-known mentalist currently performing shows in the Seattle area. In the letter, Jules asserted that if Christopher used his skills of hypnosis to convince Richard that Nora was in the room and then accuse him of Nora's murder, Richard would quickly confess and be arrested. Richard, after all, was a spineless simpleton who could never live with the mistake he made in a moment of passionate fear. After years of grieving the loss of Nora, Marianne and Troy seized this opportunity to finally get some closure on the matter. Once the great Christopher and his assistant Donna arrived in Detroit, Donna went about hiring a character actor named Gary Floyd to play the part of an aloof guest to add intrigue to the evening. Considering that most people attending the seance had a shared history, it was best if there was at least one stranger in the room to aid in the deception. Gary was basically clueless about the Detroit area's history, and as he was a transplant from Boston, why he thought Detroit was a good place to make his mark as an actor, we may never know. But he was happy to take the job, as he'd been living in a halfway house in Irish Corktown since his arrival. His only payment was free lodging at the manor and all he could eat during the week prior to the seance. He was an easy manipulation for the great Christopher's powers of hypnosis. However, Donna knew there was something more to Gary. As the seance began, and Christopher gave Gary suggestions that he was Nora's ghost, Donna saw that he was actually taken over by the ghost of Nora Ainsworth. Donna was afraid that admitting this fact to Christopher might put her job in jeopardy, so she was happy that Christopher gave her the instructions to leave the room and flip on and off the lights. Too much time in the company of spirits, she learned in adolescence, was a good way to get fitted with a self-hugging jacket. During the evening, Marianne noticed how much attention the great Christopher was giving to Gary. Each time she tried to walk over and strike up a conversation, Christopher would steer Gary to a remote corner of the room as if they were purposefully avoiding her. This infuriated Marianne. Not only was she a devotee of Christopher's work, but she was also a star player in organizing tonight's seance. She felt that she was being tremendously disrespected. The first insult of many was Melinda feeding her only peanuts and crappy fast food style appetizers. The second insult was that for reasons surpassing understanding, the Brazilian maid moved her seat at the table to a place where she could not be in Christopher's direct sight lines. And she wasn't even allowed to sit next to him at the table. Then, to add even more insult to injury, Christopher ignored her all night long just to talk with that strange Bostonian transplant devoid of any decency. That accent of his really riled her. There was nothing charming about the man, even if the rumors were true and Christopher was gay. Certainly she would be able to change the great Christopher's mind on that point if only she could get him alone. After all, they came very close that one night in Hoboken. So, out of sheer jealousy and frustration, when the lights went out, Marianne picked up the crystal ball from the center of the table and chucked it as hard as she could across the table. What she really wanted to do was throw it at Gary, but in the dark, she became disoriented and threw it at Richard instead. It was never her intention to kill the man, of course, but when Marianne gets going, it's hard for her to control her emotions. As she threw the crystal ball, her wedding ring flew off her finger and landed on the floor near the butler's pantry where Donna stepped on it. The consequences of Marianne's inability to hold her temper was Richard Whitney's death. She is awaiting trial for manslaughter, although she's sure to get off because her husband, the mime, he's Jeffrey Feiger's cousin. Clowns run in the family. Also, money and a crafty lawyer will always pave the way to absolution. Although Melinda has been a loyal servant to the Whitney family with a generous cost of living increase every year, she's had enough. She's going back to the Navy, if they'll have her. At least there, they understand loyalty, discipline, and order. If the Navy rejects her, Melinda's backup plan is to retire to a small house on stilts somewhere in an off-grid bayou of Louisiana and hang out with the alligators. That's a life that will be at least a bit quieter. Amy Kelso plans to continue living at the Whitney in her third-floor apartments. As the last living heir with no children of her own, she can live out her days digging through the tunnels and finding the secret compartments she has left to discover. She is confident that there will be another Amazon Prime series hidden in there somewhere, just waiting to be written. The great Christopher and his assistant Donna made enough money from the Seance to retire, but they won't. They both find chasing ghosts a predilection neither can ignore. But now that it's been revealed that Christopher is the equivalent of a sideshow carny, and it's Donna who has the real gift, he'll be her assistant now. They've signed a deal with the Discovery Channel for a 4-part mini-series called Donna Sees Dead People, but Christopher just opens the mail. Jules has been arrested on charges of grand larceny, racketeering, arranging a murder, and accessory to manslaughter. Her trial is expected sometime next year after the police have finished cleaning out the Ainsworth fallout shelter and her stash of stolen merchandise. Everyone anticipates that she'll go to prison for a very long time. Amy will ghostwrite her autobiography titled, "It's Not My Fault." After all, what is family for if not to support each other during a crisis? Gary Floyd is done with Detroit. Clearly, he made a big mistake coming here. Even South Boston isn't this brutal. Besides, he misses the comfort of being rocked to sleep on the tee, feeding the ducks in Boston Common, and making a respectable living busking outside Old North Church and Faneuil Hall. Tourists, he's learned, are a lot safer than socialites, even in Boston. And after that one tiny moment of improv, the second gunshot that didn't actually happen went horribly wrong, he started rethinking his career on the stage. Dawn, or Troy Haynes, or whoever they're calling themselves these days, disappeared shortly after the group's pizza party, never to be heard from again. They were last spotted getting off an airplane at the Las Vegas Harry Reid International Airport with U.S. Marshals close on their tail. As part of the investigation, The police have determined from payroll records that Mackenzie Keatley was once a dishwasher working at the Whitney. Melinda fired her just before the seance began for insubordination. Evidently, she was publishing photos of guests from the Whitney's special events on the internet without getting the proper clearance from the legal department. And so ends the mystery of the seance at the Whitney. So there you go, everybody. According to the official ending, Marianne Whelan did it out of pure jealousy.
I just have one thing to say.
Oh, no. No. Sure, go ahead.
What is the food like in the prison?
Bread and water.
Prison.
Jules, have you been there long enough to get your first meal?
Well, there's nothing gluten-free here, so I'm gonna be losing a lot of weight.
There's always a positive outcome to every story, right? So, in looking over the accusations that were officially sent into the website, we discovered that only a few people actually fingered Marianne as the culprit. However, no one fingered her with the right primary motive. So, what we have to do now, is you guys have to decide. Oh my gosh. Oh, the poll, it is not working. The poll, it is not working. I'm so disappointed. Okay, so the poll's not working. So I have to, hold on a moment. I have to go back into my handy dandy spreadsheet. I have to bring it up. Hold on. Hold on.
I'm batshit crazy, and it was really Marianne.
It was Marianne, but she did it out of jealousy. So we're gonna have to do this in the chat, folks, because I can't get the second poll to work for reasons surpassing understanding. Okay, so the people who fingered Marianne were Jen Rinaldi.
You gotta stop saying that.
Okay, all right. So the people who accused Marianne were Jen Rinaldi. Jen said copyright protection. Mark McCraw. He alleged that she did it out of anger. Spreadsheet, here you are. Donna Newman also said Marianne did it, but she said it was out of fear. Justine also said that it was Marianne, claimed it was out of retribution and revenge. And Christopher Gare said that Marianne did it out of retribution and revenge. So in the chat, I'm sorry I couldn't make this poll work. It's very frustrating for me. In the chat, I want everybody to just put in one name who you think delivered the best ending toward accusing Marianne. Was it Justine, Donna, Jen Rinaldi, Mark McCraw, or Christopher Gare? I'll say those names again. Justine, Donna, Jen Rinaldi, Mark McCraw, or Christopher Gare. Whose ending was most in line with this being all Marianne's fault? Okay. Now, talk amongst yourselves while I count, because math, not my thing.
Marianne, I gotta ask you, what is that hat you're wearing?
find a hat, and my husband wouldn't let me use any of his cool hats. So it's a ski cap with catnip cat toys into it. And it's bothering my sinuses, and my nose is dripping, and I'm coughing.
I think it's time to lose the hat.
I think I might be allergic
Lose
to
that. We'll all remember it because we just talked about it, but lose that. Amy, I'm having a lot of challenges. Can you help me?
I can do this.
Mackenzie counted.
Mackenzie counted?
Mackenzie said Christopher's got 6.
Is Christopher the one who has the most?
Think
Mackenzie?
so.
Okay, so for the record, and I'm sorry it didn't work with the poll, you guys. I don't know what I did wrong there. But for the record, the most accurate accusation slinger was Christopher Gare, and he will receive an electronic Amazon $25 gift certificate.
That's why he's the
Congratulations.
great Christopher.
He is indeed the great Christopher. I thought all of your stories were amazing. I'm in awe of all of you. I am completely blown away that you guys took this challenge and really like put some effort into it and really engaged your imaginations. And I'm just so thrilled. My intention, because we now have chat, we have audio transcripts, and we have your accusations. This summer, my cabin hermitage project is to put this together into a book, clue style, so all of your endings will be at the end of the book, and then my ending will come at the very end, to make it the official ending. So that'll be out. And I'll let you know when the project's finished. My goal, again, during my hermitage this summer is to work on that project. If I get this really cool residency program with Amy this summer, this is going to be my project for the residency program. Because working with Amy, we can really make it happen. So there we go. Mackenzie, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, remember that picture we saw where they said for like a marketing technique that you make like 11 different endings to a book and then publish them all separately?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to publish 18 different books. I think that would be more more than I can do. More than I could use an adjective there, but it's just more than I could do. So oh, Charlie, don't bonk your head, dude. Jeez, bonked his head on the table when he jumped up. Okay. So now here we go.
Frog legs.
He's so cute. Okay. So now it's part of the evening that we all come to, that we all love. Andrew had to step out. So he will see it on the, get down. I need my hands. Thank you. We'll put it on the replay and I will send a note to Andrew, but he is giving away one copy of Another Slice of Passion tonight on the spinning wheel of happiness. So I just need to make sure that everybody who's here is on the wheel and people who are not are not. And I'm going to clean this up to make this a really, really accurate thing. This has been so much fun, you guys. Oh my gosh, so much fun. I can't even believe the fun. Mackenzie, Manny Jo, Marianne. Rosemary, are you here? You were. Yes, you are. Good. All right. Okay. Here we go. We are going to turn on the spinning wheel of happiness. And we're going to spin for Andrew's Astounding Amazing Poetry book. Turn on my sound, make sure my sound is, and it is. Okay, can everybody see the spinning wheel of happiness? Yes. Okay, here we go. Congratulations, Jules! You won a copy of Andrew's new book. Congratulations.
You're gonna need it, Jules, since you need to do something when you're in prison.
A little light reading.
When you finish, I'll take it.
I'll just hand it next door through the bars.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. And then, hold on. Diana has to make sure her screens are working. There we go.
Frog legs.
Okay. So before we do the amazing, astounding, extravagant hat contest, I need to remind each and every one of you and all of you watching at home in different places in the universe that the whole reason we are doing this month, the only reason, okay, not the only reason, but the biggest reason I do it every year is to support and promote my indie author community. Everybody, please, pretty please visit the website, check out these amazing authors and their astounding books. Buy them for your friends, buy them for yourselves, leave reviews if you've already read some of the books you've heard from tonight. Please, pretty please share this with the world. I will put the link on the Facebook page, and Amy, if you can share it in the chat, you're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. You figured stuff out without me. You're amazing. Okay, here we are. This is the time of the evening. The most spectacular hat contest. We have all just had a really good time this month, and what better way than to give away a final $25 Amazon gift card to the person with the most spectacular hat. And because, again, I'm not making any more decisions this month, you guys get to decide in the chat. And Mackenzie, since you're so good at it, if you could take a count, everybody put the name in the chat who won the most spectacular hat contest this evening.
I think you might be able to count this one.
I might. Look at that. Look at that. See, I don't even need my lacking math skills for this. This is this fantastic, wonderful, spectacular. Thank you all for playing along. Melinda, you've won the amazing hat contest. Congratulations, Melinda.
Although Donna Newman does get a second. Or
Donna Newman gets an honorable mention.
Yep.
Melinda, I can't stress this enough. I'm going to be really disappointed if you don't put close-up pictures of that thing on the Facebook page, because I want to see all the little tiny details. See, I want to see all of that. So please, please, please take lots of pictures, put them on the Facebook page. Everybody had massively wonderful hats tonight. I am so grateful that you guys once again dipped your flippers into my little pond of insanity and joined me not only for the festival, but the hats as well. It's just a fun way to kind of end the month. I've said it like 1,000 times tonight, but I don't feel like I can say it enough. I am so grateful for all of you. I really, really adore all of you. For everyone who had a hand in sending me the stash of chocolate that's going to last me until I get diabetes, thank you so much. You guys are spectacular. You're amazing. You're awesome. You're incredible.
Yeah.
And I have this thing. I'm gonna turn off my background because I want you guys to be able to see what's going on here. I'm going to turn off my virtual background. You guys have seen it all month long anyway. So
Diane, before you open that, can you give me permission to share my screen, please?
I would be happy to. You go right ahead. You have permission.
Hang on.
Oh my gosh, what did you guys do?
It was paranormal.
Oh my God, this is so amazing. Please, Amy, are you gonna send this to me?
We love you.
Oh my God, you guys are intense. Look at this. Oh, geez, I'm gonna cry. You guys, you can't do that. I'm gonna cry. Oh my God. This is amazing. You guys are so cool. Send that to me, please, so that I can frame it and put it on my wall.
I can do that.
You guys,
Well
you guys.
done, Amy.
Oh my God.
Everyone for helping. Yes.
Jesus. Okay. Happy tears, but crying nonetheless. Thank you so much. This is just, oh my God. You guys are just, wow. 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 Okay. You guys are just spectacular. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn this off now so that I can stop crying. Okay. All right. Wow. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. So now I guess I have to open this. I got this package in the mail a couple of days ago, and it in very large, very screaming letters. It says, "Do not open until the final reveal party. All your pants are fans." And on the back, just in case I was tempted to open it, it said, "Read the other side. Is it February 29th yet?" So I'm going to open this now because you guys are awesome. I think you guys are. Okay. Opening. Okay, there's plastic inside. There's a rubber band holding the plastic together. I'm going to hurt myself. Opening. Okay. Opening. It's t-shirt, you guys.
Put her on speaker so you can all see.
Oh my God, you guys are like the best. So I'll show it to you in a second. Okay. Yes. All right. It says plotter, a noun, a writer who incorrectly believes they can keep their characters in line. And then in parentheses underneath, it says, see also delusional writer Diana. This is what it says. And then on the back, if that wasn't enough.
Amy.
On the back, it says, okay, the back, it says plotter, a noun, second definition, comfort food for pantsers. Also, pantser snack, comma, snake food. And around the top of the back, it says a bunch of pantsers designed this for me.com. So there you go.
So Diana, you need to look at the inside of the sleeves now, where your forearm would be.
There's more?
We always do too much, you know.
So on the left sleeve, it says, where did that snake go now? You guys. Says, why won't that Brazilian maid behave? Best gift I've ever been given. Oh my God. Okay, so I'm conflicted right now. I want to wear this shirt absolutely everywhere. And at the same time, I don't want to wear it because I don't want it to wear out in the wash. Okay, you guys are officially the best human beings on the planet. And I love you all so much. And this is, oh my moly. This is great. You guys, you did all this for me and you were amazing all month long. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. And you guys are getting some really serious hugs the next time I get to see you in person. So be forewarned. To be forewarned is to be in trouble. So thank you so much. Before we leave, never gonna stop laughing. Okay. So before we leave, we have to go around and do shots from the bow. And since it is our last night, I'm just gonna ask everybody. So Deb McFadden, do you have shots across the bow for us?
Yes. Thank you so much.
See, you're crying too. It's not just me.
It's contagious.
Oh my God. Oh, jeepers.
It's Mary Ann's catnip.
Must be.
Mark Love, sir.
I just want to thank you for all of your efforts in, it's like herding cats, I'm sure, from your perspective, with all of these crazy people involved and all of this creativity and improvisation and crystal balls and Marianne and dear God, what else? It was every night, it was nothing but laughs. And I definitely needed this. It was just hilarious. And I was so happy to be a part of it. And it was great to connect with some friends and meet some new ones along the way. So thank you for that. And thanks to everybody for being a part of the show.
Thank you, Mark. You're wonderful as always. Mandy Jo.
I had a fabulous time. It was fun. Can't
so
wait
glad
till
you're-
next year.
God, I'm not thinking about next year tonight.
I
Not
bet you
tonight.
Mackenzie is.
Yeah, Mackenzie's thinking about it more than I am. You know what we need to do? We need to bring Mackenzie to the cabin for the writing hermitage, and that's what we need to do.
There we go.
Justine, shots across the bow.
I just want to thank everybody here. I had so much fun, and specifically Diana, because I really do think, like, I'm amazed by everything you do. And I just think this was such a wonderful thing that you put together. It's really been a blast all month. And I'm sitting here a year from the next one going, can I be a suspect next year? Because I think I want to be.
I think it would be fun if you were.
Yes.
Thank you so much, all of you guys. Like I've laughed so hard this month.
Me too.
I don't know. Do you speak Brazilian?
No, but I do have a year to learn. So
there you go.
Wouldn't that be Portuguese?
I really
Yes.
like your optimism.
Yes, it would.
I like your optimism, Justine. That's you have a year to learn. I like that. Gary Floyd, shots across the bow.
This was an absolute ball. Is I've taken part in a few of these or whatever, usually on the outside part of it. I feel more in the center of it, and I really helped February go by and really feel like I have some friends
You
closer
do.
to people.
You're stuck with us now, so can't get away from
I'm
us
still
now.
hanging in a tree. That's all I know.
Mary Beth McGee, shots across the bow, ma'am.
Oh, wow. I got involved in a yacht race a while back, and look what it's gotten me into now.
I
And
know.
the best part of it is the privilege of getting to know you and this great group of people. So thank you.
Yeah, who knew a leisurely sail to Mackinac Island would turn into this?
Yeah. And hey, when are we doing the next fundraising anthology?
It's on the Facebook page. Give me 2 days to breathe and I'll post
Oh
it
yeah, I
again,
know.
okay?
I just thought I'd get the idea for future reference.
It's already out there on the
Is
Facebook
it?
page,
Okay,
and
I
it's
missed
on
it.
and it's on the website. It's called Flights of Fantasy, and it's a collection of children's stories. So I think that's
Super.
going to be right in your genre.
You
So
think?
yeah, it's out there. I'll post it again after I, breathe and stop crying.
Oh, great. No.
You can have
Yeah,
February
first off, you
30th
need a week
and
to
February
catch up.
31st.
Just
Oh yeah,
breathe.
thanks, Mark. I appreciate the time. Yeah.
Hey,
Uh,
no problem.
Wolf, do you have any shots across the bow for us?
Needs more cowbell.
Okay, I'll keep that in
I
mind
knew
for
something
next
was missing.
time. Miranda, shots across the bow.
Thank you so much, Diana and cast. It was a lot of fun. This is my first time participating in anything like this. I was recovering from surgery, and so this was a really good thing to take my mind off of the stuff that I'm going through. So I really enjoyed the distraction. I had a lot of fun. So I learned a lot. Thanks.
Well, we're so happy to have you, and thanks for joining the silliness. We appreciate you. Donna Newman, shots across the bow.
Okay, so first of all, I was talking to another author a couple days ago, and she was talking about how she doesn't have any support and she doesn't feel like she's part of a committee. And I told her she needed to meet up with you, Diana, and Mandy Jo, because you guys are the reason I'm here. And I said that she's not in the right committee or community if she's not got you guys. So that's all I have
Thank
to say.
you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Amy Kelso, shots across the bow, ma'am.
I just have to say, this community is amazing. You guys are all so good. It's so wonderful to have a community of writers, to be as crazy as we all are together. And, people don't think we're strange when we, are talking about murder or listening to the voices in our head,
That's right.
I think it's great. And I really, really want to thank Diana for pulling us all together and making this all happen. So thank you.
My pleasure. Super fun. Mackenzie, do you want to turn on your microphone and do shots across the bow?
There's not really much I can say that everyone else hasn't already said, but you said you didn't want any prizes from the festival because you organized it. But I have 2 things that are not done yet, but I do want to give them to you when they are done.
You're amazing. I adore you so much. You're getting an invitation to my birthday party this summer, just so you know. It's coming. Melinda, shots across the bow.
Glad I didn't do it. Gary had me worried.
Okay.
I said you missed.
Really, same as Mackenzie. I mean, I would just be echoing what everyone else has already said. But damn it, it deserves repeating. Diana, we love you. Thank you for letting us come play in your sandbox. And just send depends though. That's got to be a party favor next year because we have all laughed, and I know a lot of us have been, all of us. I mean, almost everybody I've seen on the screen has had their own trials and tribulations in their personal lives, and it's moments and communities like this that make us want to get up in the morning, makes us want to stay up past our bedtime, because where there is such joy and laughter, the love is evident, and we all share the love of books, story, humor, camaraderie. And we all share a love and appreciation of you, lady.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Jules, I have no idea what to say to you right now. You are the mastermind of creating wonderful secrets, and I love you so much. And I'm so glad that you were part of this and you continue to be my friend. And I'm so glad that the person I thought was shy and unapproachable turned out not to be. I'm just so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Do you have any parting shots for us before we let everybody go to bed?
Oh, I mean, what everybody else has said. I mean, you have made this an amazing, you've brought us all together, created fun on the screen and fun in the side chats that we have in our secret side chat where we designed the shirt together. And I just want you to know, some of us wanted to hide a really cute, fluffy little snake somewhere in your shirt so that you'd have to look for it. But then some of your other friends love you more than us, apparently. And they said just the word snake would be better because otherwise you wouldn't wear it. So I just want you to know how much you're loved on all aspects of the screen, on screen and off screen. So
thank you so much. This month has been so much fun for me. Even the 7 rewrites I did for the ending, still, I had so much fun with this, with everybody doing the improv, and I had to tweak this ending so many times, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be something everybody was going to be happy with, but you guys are amazing, and you always make me feel so warm and fuzzy, and I can't wait to see what you all write next, and I'm going to keep buying your books and getting you to sign them for me. So I look forward to seeing all of you in person this summer at various festivals around the state. Mandy Jo, I'm going to see you first, and then Mark, get ready, because we're gonna have some fun. So thank you all. Just a little, a lot. Thank you, everybody. You guys are absolutely the best family I have ever chosen. I appreciate you all. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Next